So a lot of men these days are confused, you know. A lot of men don't know exactly how to define being a man and what they need to do in order to, you know, satisfy their idea of masculinity and stuff. And a lot of people will look to influencers and big social media personalities who have the cars and the women and stuff. And, you know, all that stuff, I mean, it's great temporarily, it's hedonism, you know, and everybody knows that hedonism never really satisfies the soul, you know. And for me personally, as someone who likes to read, and I imagine a lot of people are similar to this, I prefer kind of a theoretical idea of what a man should be, you know. And obviously when I say that, I mean, you can kind of make reference to like Friedrich Nietzsche. His work on the Übermensch was very, very fascinating to me because there was so much ambiguity into it, you know. It wasn't a very, you know, tightly defined thing. Nobody, from what I've read anyway, has really been able to like, accurately put their finger on exactly what he was getting at when he said the Übermensch. And there's also some connotations which he meant, you know, when referring to how powerful you become when you reach the stage of the Overman, you know. And obviously how humanity is standing on a tightrope, you know, between themselves and an animal, below it an eternal abyss, you know. Like, I find that incredibly fascinating because when he's referring to the abyss, he's actually, you know, cross-referencing all this hedonism which society gets led down, you know, as they get better and better and stronger. But this just also reinforces how you need to do the internal work, you know. Becoming a man, becoming you is nothing to do with what you have on the outside. Like, genuinely, you could have nothing, literally nothing at all, like not a penny to your name, but as long as you're solid in here, that's what matters, you know. And, you know, when we're referring to the Übermensch specifically, it's like wherever you're from in the world watching this, you know, if you're from the UK or if you know, wherever, Europe, you'll notice that the kind of like micro habits in your town, like trends will come in and people like, you'll see it on social media especially, people just jump on the exact same trend, you know. And a lot of time these people, okay, you know, they might be somewhat interested in what they're doing, but a lot of the times they want to demonstrate to other people that they're doing the same thing, you know. It's kind of like some social cohesion, you know. Like, for example, in the UK right now, paddle, which is like a new sport kind of similar to like badminton and tennis, has become really, really popular. But I know a lot of people, like, from what I've seen, and I know, you know, personally, they're doing it to kind of, you know, fit in and stuff. And there's so many of these micro trends that come into the world and your town and stuff. And for me personally, I think that being an Übermensch or trying to be an Übermensch is not necessarily, you know, evading these things and not doing them intentionally. But if they're not things that you want to do, then you're happy to step away from that. You're happy to say, no, I don't want to spend money doing that things. I don't want to use my time doing something that I don't want to, you know. You can shape your own path, you know. Your hobbies, your time, your work is completely independent and exclusive to you. And to me, that's what the Übermensch is kind of about foundationally anyway, you know. It's going down your own sovereign route. And obviously that's a big oversimplification because there's a lot of aspects which make up, you know, the Overman according to what Nietzsche was writing about and stuff. But yeah, I think that if you can really, you know, dodge all society's expectations of you and still be content within, that is such a powerful thing, you know. Like Buddhists and stuff, Buddhists, monks, you know, monks of all religions reach a certain level of enlightenment where they've got so happy with their internal state of being, they don't actually care about anything externally, you know. Like they can just sit with themselves in their mind for hours and hours a day. And they're all like scientifically proven, a lot of these monks are really, really happy, you know. So that framework tells us that we don't need to be looking outside of ourselves, you know. And yeah, so I just think that it's all about being, you know, true to your own self and your core identity and stuff, which a lot of people don't work that out, you know. And like I say, a lot of people will want to, you know, get the house by 25 and be married and have kids and stuff. And that is, you know, for a lot of people, but it's also not for a lot of people in this day and age, you know. The modern world, that isn't, you know, always sunshine and rainbows now, you know, and like it used to be. So you've got to really make that decision based on your own internal framework. And that's, again, this is like a very small fragment of, you know, the Übermensch based on what I've read, but I just think it's a good starting point for anybody who wants to, you know, really learn about themselves and be the man that they need to be. You know, you can't get that idea from anybody else, it has to come from you. That's the masculine ultimatum, really.